Now let's get to some recommendations for this week. These are movies that are were not part of our features. Bruce, what do you got so far?
I have the First Omen, which just came out this last Friday. So every Saturday, usually my oldest son and I watch a movie, and a lot of times we just watch one at home, and it's either something silly or something fun or something I think he'd love. Like we watched some Tarantino recently, but the week before last we watched the original Omen, and then we knew we were going to probably go watch this movie, so we went and watched it. This movie
Original
is
holds
directed.
up. Sorry, or
Yeah,
does it
it
hold?
does hold up. I mean, there's some cheesiness to it. It's got a little bit of Final Destination kind of what do people say, Rube Goldberg deaths, where
Sure.
But I think it's a solid 70s horror movie that I think has a lot of fun to it. It's a good watch, and it's pretty lean. It kind of just does its thing. The First Omen is directed by Arkasha Stevenson, stars as Margaret, Nell Tiger, Free, and then also co-stars a lot of names you might know: Bill Nighy, Charles Dance, Sonia Braga, Ralph Ineson. So you've got some
Yeah.
some names in there. What this movie does is kind of interesting because and I didn't have a lot of hopes for this, although I've been hearing some good buzz about it. So I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be actually a good movie. We'll see. It might just be cheesy fun, whatever. So I went in there. It's a prequel, first of all, to the First Omen, or to the Omen that we saw back in the 70s, and it's directly leading to that. It isn't one of those ones where it's going to rewrite it, so it's going to be a totally different version or whatever. It's literally going to lead into that. And it starts with Margaret, and she's this young, soon-to-be nun going to this orphanage, and she's going to be actually, I don't know if they call it ordained. I don't know if they call it when you become a nun, but she's going to be married into the church, because that's essentially what they do, right? Got to marry God there and become a nun. But she comes there to basically work at this orphanage for a little while and then become a nun. That's her whole idea. And what this movie does that I thought was kind of interesting, because instead of being like the other Omens, where essentially it's like, you have the evil kid and then all the people around it start to learn about it and they all die in crazy creative ways. This is a little more akin to Giallo. Get your ears up a little bit there. A little more akin to Giallo, a little more akin to Suspiria in a sense, not in that really colorful, overly stylized sense, but in the sense of how in Suspiria she ever going to this, overseas to a ballet school, and she gets there and it's like a weird situation she's in. Something's not right. Something's not right in this whole place. Same sort of thing here, right? She's going to this orphanage with all these nuns, and something is obviously not right in this place. So there's that element of kind of mystery and weirdness there. I really appreciate the attention to like period detail. It's got a really good like atmospheric odd score. It's not just the choir score from the original Omens. It has its own thing going on. I'd say the first two thirds is almost a movie that doesn't even have to be called an Omen movie, but in the last third it ties it all in, almost to its detriment, almost like it's has to force itself into that, where it almost could have not done that. But I understand why. I understand they want to tie it in. It's part of a franchise. They're going to have a lot more recognition based on that. This is a solid horror movie. I would say if you like those kind of movies, or you like specifically those movies, I'd say go check this out. And it doesn't shirk on having some good violence. It's not as violent, honestly, as the old ones as far as how many kills there are, but there are a few knockout scenes that'll get you going in this one, as far as like, the horror aspects.
Your son's review.
He liked it. He liked it. He thought it was a really solid movie, kind of like I did. He liked it as a good, fun theater experience as well. And it's got a straight up homage to Possession. So you gotta like that too.
Oh, what? That's amazing. Akasha Stevenson, in the interview, when I interviewed her and her companion and writer, co-writer Tim Smith, they she mentioned body horror. Does it
hmm
is that a big theme of this? Do they explore it pretty well or not too much?
I mean, I would call it almost pregnancy horror. So in the aspect that pregnancy is a sense of kind of body horror, right? Like your body's undergoing changes and you're being literally kind of possessed and all that kind of stuff. They push that. And for people who are squeamish around that, that would definitely be some triggering stuff in there, because you see some stuff, you're like, oh wow, they went there. So they do go there pretty hard. So yeah, a little bit in that sense.
Okay, so this is a very good review from Bruce. I was surprised. The First Omen, what is your rating?
I'm gonna go 4 stars, and probably only because of the last third having to like shoehorn itself into that, and also kind of not making sense a little bit. Although that's a minor quibble, I mean, if you're going for a horror movie, it's giving you what you want. It's way better than it needed to be. Put it that way.
So that is the first Omen from Bruce Purkey. 4 stars. That's amazing. I thought you would really not like this movie. And unfortunately, I told the filmmakers that I was going to see it opening weekend. Instead, I saw Monkey Man, which I'll get to in a second. But the first Omen, worth a watch. 4 stars from Bruce Purkey. Check it out in theaters.